Welcome to the Trelevate podcast. Today, I'm joined with a really special guest, Logan Johnson.
Bo, I'm so excited to be here with you today. Talk about some great things in our organization and really why outside sales.
That's right. We are talking about outside sales. And Logan, if I'm correct, you have led many teams in the field, grew them, and overseen them all outside sales, correct?
That is correct for this organization. Also done some inside sales with other organizations in the past.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, I had no idea. That's amazing. Let's dive into that. Okay, so you've had experience in inside and outside sales. What do you feel like is one of the, or many of the factors that differentiates the difference?
Well, one, I think power of presence, right? I mean, phone, you can be on it, you can talk to them, but you can't see them.
Right.
So being in their own place of business and understanding your environment, what's around you, and really getting a feel for what that business is doing and how you may be able to just take some of that and be able to lead into why we can help them with a certain service.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like your time in inside sales versus outside sales was more valuable? Either one?
It's a great question, Bo. I'll tell you, I think there's value in both because inside you can put out a lot more output, if that makes sense. You can reach more customers, make more calls. At the same time, you're waiting for someone to pick the phone up, right? Versus, I would say 60, 70% of the business owners are in their business at least 3 to 5 days a week. So being able to walk in and see them or be present in front of them gives you much more power when it comes to a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking back, do you feel like outside sales showed you a different way to approach a customer?
I would say yes, because again, you're in person, right? So approaching somebody, your look, how you introduce yourself, why you're there, and really just trying to, disrupt their complacency on what is this guy doing in my office, right?
Yeah.
But I have something great to offer. So I'd rather be present. But again, I can go back and tell you power of both phone and in person is definitely, there's a separation between them.
Yeah. Does your pitch change at all? Like if you walked in person, would you use a different sales entry pitch versus on the phone?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, because my personality is just me. You're going to hear this tonality or I'm going to be in front of you. But I like the physical piece where they can see my emotion. They can see my feelings, smile. And I think that goes a long way, right? Somebody that wants to walk into your business and tell you about something or show you something that may benefit the business. I'm here. I'm present.
Right.
I'm not just picking up a phone. I believe over the last 10 years, yes, there's a lot of phone sales that you can win from, but you can't always get to the right person and win that deal if sometimes you're not present, not in person.
Okay. You want to do something fun? Here's what I'd love the experience to come out here. This is a very basic bracelet. It says hope on the front. On the back, it says the Sean C effect. Now, there's a whole story behind this.
Yes.
And we're going to get into that another time. But just for today, sales pitch, sell me this bracelet.
Bo, I'm here to tell you about something that can really market your company or maybe something that your company believes in or values very strongly. I know you're an organization that's inside, outside, working with different types of customers. We have all of our employees that have this type of bracelet, and we put messaging or we put terminology, something that defines our company on this. And I'll tell you, the power of having this on, look, you got a nice watch on. People like to have things that remind them. This one, definitely, there's 2 reasons this bracelet was made. And that's what really helps us sell the vision of why something like this can make a difference for your employees. There's something to remember or something to stand by. We'd love to show you how we can customize that to fit your needs based on maybe something that of value with your company or something that may trigger others to want to know about your company based on what may be on that bracelet.
Wow. That's amazing. Logan, you know what? I'm rather sold on this idea of this bracelet. Do you have a card I can have? And then we'll go from there.
I've got a digital card. So I went digital.
Perfect.
I've got the Q code in
cool.
different ways. But yeah, I definitely have one for you.
Awesome.
What's holding you back from looking into this a little bit farther? I mean, what do you do for your company to brand it or put a message out there? If it's not a bracelet, what are you doing currently?
I guess my only hesitation would be I'm just not sure a bracelet is really going to motivate our employees as I hope it would.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess the question would be is how do you understand what motivates your employees? What may be something they would like to have, they don't on behalf of your company.
That's
Got to look
the
in different
question.
ways. Little gifts like this or little trinkets of reminding you of something can go a long way.
Wow. Wow. Well done. That was great.
It's like
That's
selling a
awesome.
pen. You asked me to sell a bracelet, but there is a rhyme and a reason behind this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we use them in our organization. It's been great.
Come on. Logan, you talk about the power of presence. You brought it up at the beginning. Tell me about that. What is the distinct advantage of being in a face-to-face conversation? You'd mentioned they can see your emotions and you can be present, and you can also see the customer too. What's that like?
My belief is it's less likely or not as easy for them to say no. They're going to hear you out.
Sure.
So I'm taking my time to come in and visit you. If you can give me 5 minutes, I'd love to share with you what I'm doing. I'm not here to sell you one thing today, but let's build a relationship out of this. Maybe there is something I can do. Couldn't do that over the phone as easy. There's a lot of people that call and sell or promote their products, and it's a quick phone call. They're busy. They can hang up. They're not going to hang up on you in person. They're not going to say, get out. They're going to let you give a little spiel or a pitch, and then that's the opportunity to build a relationship and some trust with that client about your service or product. So I definitely think the power of being in the presence of them in their own office can really, maybe it's not the initial contact, but it's what pushes them over the edge to want to listen to another conversation, because your next conversation can change everything.
Absolutely. Then that's a pillar here at Trelevate, isn't it?
Very correct.
Absolutely.
Very
Your next
true.
conversation can change everything. Logan, tell me, obviously being in person, you're going to have insights onto that company's needs better if you were on the phone versus an outside or an inside sales position. Talk to me about either an experience or some details that you'll just never pick up unless you were in person.
It's a great question. I'll tell you, it's really easy. The power of the atmosphere in what you see happening in the operations for the business. We find today a lot of business owners are running more skeleton crew, depending on the type of organization. So
what do you mean by skeleton crew?
They're trouble hiring. A lot of companies have trouble staffing. So if you're not staffed, who comes in? It's the owners, right? So being able to be in and see what that looks like, how busy they can be, that allows you to gauge too how to move to the next step and what to do next, because they may be busy. That first conversation could be the initial, but being able to see what the operation looks like, what's going on, or maybe you're talking to a manager and it's not the owner, but you're finding out when they're in and it's very sporadic. So again, picking up a phone, you can make 150 calls a day. You can go see 30, 40 businesses a day and have a lot more impact based on maybe previous contacts or touch points. So again, I say there's a blend, but I'm a guy too that also doesn't like to sit behind a desk all day. I like to get out and go see people and move. I see you in here. You can't sit at your desk all day. So why outside? Get up, move, go interact and see people versus just the telecom.
Absolutely. And I feel like it lifts the ceiling for the level of excellence that you can bring to your table, right? So if you're having a conversation with a client and trying to advise them on any of our products that we're helping sell, you obviously can see a need and a use for it in 7 ways, and maybe that owner can only see it in 2 ways. So being in person can help you see the variety, the extent of applying it better to that business.
Yes, and you can also read them. As you're presenting and they're giving you objections or they're agreeing, you get to read what that customer looks like. I always say read your room and read your customer.
Yeah.
There's a different demeanor of what you walk into in a business and see out of a person that's in a great mood. Business is great versus they're understaffed, they're low on income, and they're struggling. So like even that right there is a power of connection to say, I can see you're running around. You're busy. Mm-hmm. Let me be an advocate for you. Here's what I do. And today I just want to stop by and introduce myself. So I really do think it's also about the approach of how you do it in outside sales, because a lot of business owners hate when they see people run in, run out, they're gone trying to sell something versus start with a relationship.
Right.
Why are you stopping in? Well, I want to learn about your business and I want to introduce myself. Yeah. There's a personal touch that outside feel.
Yeah. Do you ever tailor your conversation or your approach differently if it's a skeleton crew or a full-scale team?
You know, I treat everyone like they're the owner. Yeah. So it's an interesting question, because you could walk in and see one person. You could walk in and see 5. I look at it as, regardless of how many are in there, every one of those is important. That front desk person could be running most of the operations while the owner's on the golf course. So I say build champions within every person you meet in that organization, and they may be able to help you get to that next stage. They typically know where everyone's at, what the operations looks like, and if not, they know who does.
Yeah.
So there's layers of relationships you can build by being in person in their business.
What's a cue that you're like, oh, this person, they're not the owner, but they're a highly operated, they're responsible for a lot.
There's no cue. I always say, well, you're the one that runs it. I mean, you're here, you answer all the calls, you open the shop, but you know, the owner's on the golf course, right? And she's like, yeah, but I'm just, you know, the front desk person. I'm like, well, you do a lot more than that. Your time is valuable. What you do is valuable. So I try and make everyone feel like no matter what your role is,
right,
titles are titles, but every relationship that you can walk in front of versus pick the phone up, there is a difference there.
Yeah.
And again, a blend. Sometimes you got to have touch points that are, I went in, I'm going to go call, I'm going to stop back in.
Right.
Because the power of being there and having them see that you're not just some random person. You live in the community, you work in the community, I'm here to serve the community. Again, outside sales, you can tell that a lot easier than you can over the phone.
Yeah.
There's somebody calling who knows where you're calling from.
Sure, absolutely. Would you say my guess and just my limited experience of sales would tell me that if someone was busy, understaffed, that I would want to make sure that I would get to the point, the benefit, the product really quickly after that approach has been made so that they can know that this is either going to be a value to them or no, we're fine and move on.
Absolutely. And I think you should state that. Look, I didn't mean to stop in and waste your time. I want to stop in and introduce myself. The comments and the things you say as you introduce yourself, we know they're caught off guard. They weren't expecting us. It wasn't an appointment. I think being able to say that first, that I just wanted to come in and introduce myself, working with some of your neighboring businesses, here's what I noticed. Thought I'd come over and share it. I was talking with Katie. So we like to use the Jones effect. Who were you talking to in that complex or at that last business about this? And then you use them as the in over there. So I like the soft intro, little education of who I am and when's a better time if now's not the best time. Sometimes you'll find they give you 5 minutes, it turns into 15. So being present again, you get that opportunity versus a phone.
Sure, absolutely. And so giving that disclosure before you lead into that conversation, like, hey, I just want to be really basic with you. Like, this is where we're going. So we're doing, I can notice that this could really benefit where you're at. Do you know where your company stands on this sector of market? So those disclosures really add value.
Yeah, and I think also the way you say that is the questions you're asking,
right,
how you're asking those questions, trying to get them, to really think about it, not just give you an answer like, oh, I'm all set or I'm good. Like you're giving disrupting questions to make them think. Not close-ended either. Yes and no is a close-ended. So asking the right questions to open up the conversation is important.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously the skill deficit between you and I is great. So if I were to ask somebody, be like, hey, let's talk about wristbands, right? How's your rubberized marketing? I might ask a person, hey, tell me about your bracelet marketing. That's how I might start that conversation. How would you start it?
So I like to understand how the business has made decisions to get to where they're at. So tell me about, how you ended up purchasing this. What triggered you and what was exciting to you and what did you think it would do for you? Just so I can get a better understanding. Because I got a similar product, but I'd like to understand why you bought this. Trying to get them to talk more about why or what it is that intrigues them.
Right.
I'm a question asker, and sometimes I like to talk a lot, so it is hard as that we train people that asking questions, you get an objection, ask a question then. They threw you an objection, okay, so overcome the objection with a question, and then it continues the conversation. Right. It's hard for some people to be on point and triggered like that where they're ready. Like I tell everybody, be ready for the first 3 objections when you walk in. I'm all set. I'm good. I'm too busy. Oh, no problem. I didn't expect you to have time for me today, but I wanted to introduce myself. You got to flip that real quick. So I think the questions and how you approach it and listening skills and then asking questions always opens up more conversation.
Yeah. Do you ever have a point or have you ever have a point where, okay, there's a lot of objections going on and I honestly don't think this is going anywhere. I value my time. I think I'm going to move on.
Outside sales, you have to. The phones will give you a cutoff short. If they're not interested, it's going short, they're going to hang up.
Right.
In person, you have to be able to understand and engage where you can tell you're disrupting their day or their time. They're not engaged. And so how do you pull back from that and say, look, I think I caught you off guard. Don't want to rush this. I'd like to have an educated conversation with you about what I do. When can I earn that time from you? Maybe tomorrow I'm back in the area. I'm next door working with a few other neighbors. Does tomorrow 11 work for you? So I'm going right into not really asking, but just posing that I'm going to be back and I'd like to come talk if I can tell I've caught them off guard. Because the last thing you want to do is try and sell something when you can tell there's disorientation from somebody because you're standing in front of them and they're busy.
Right.
So again, reading your person, reading the environment, what you see.
That's huge. So thinking about the overarching goal of today is understanding the value of outside sales. Why be in person? Why have that face-to-face? Why be selling in the market? Above all, Logan, your experience, your time, your acumen, what would you say is the best lesson that you ever learned in outside sales?
I would say treat it as a game and have fun with it, because you're going to go out in a day. If you're leaving your home to go to your office, which is the field, you're out there for 8 hours a day. So how do you make it fun? Know that the next business, the next conversation could change anything, and learn from every business you visit. Learn from your interactions. And if you do that and you can channel and be someone with thick skin, someone that understands there's going to be rejection, and sometimes you'll get rejection today. You go back next week, they don't even remember you. So I like to tell everyone, don't let one business visit or the next one deter you from what the success looks like, because you have unlimited opportunities in an industry like ours where there's not one business we can't help. Whether it's the technology side or the energy side, every business is using it. So don't let one or two interactions steer you the wrong way. Sometimes you experience that helping us staff, right? Great people you talk to, then they don't show up. Can't take that to heart. You got to move on to the next one or rebuild what may have been broken in that piece. Power of being outside, you can't be told no and be hung up on. You can at least introduce yourself and show that you're showing up to their business and there's something great of why you're there.
Wait, that's awesome. So good. What a valuable piece of lesson. As we're covering all this information, I'm really looking forward to the next time that we can unpack this outside sales. Our next episode, we're having Ryan on to continue this conversation about outside sales, his experience. So thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute treat, and I'm excited for our next episode where you get to share a little bit more about Trelevate.
I appreciate the time today, and definitely look forward to the next one. I'll tell you, Ryan will be able to tell you after 25 years a little bit deeper into why outside sales and why we've built such a great organization with people in an outside sales role. So thanks for your time, Bo.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to buy some bracelets.
Got them ready for you.
Come on.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll see you guys.